So in this tutorial, we're going to take a look at the code that is necessary for programming some sort of personality quiz. So the idea here is that you want to present your player with two options, and they get to choose one of the two. And throughout the game, it reveals something about themselves. So I started the code already, and I have a bear sprite that's going to kind of be like the host of it, and he's going to explain the rules. He's broadcasting a message to my other sprites that say show choices 1, and the first two choices are going to be video games and sports. So at the end of the game, the player is going to know whether they're more of an indoor person or an outdoor person. So let's continue the code from here. So let's see how it runs. The bear says, pick the choice that describes you best. In the end, it will tell you what kind of person you are. The message gets sent to the two sprites, and the choices video games and sports appear on the screen. Okay, so now the idea here is that when the player clicks one of these, it kind of keeps track of what choices they're making. And really the only way to do this is by using a variable. So we're going to go to our variables category, and I know it looks slightly different in the version of Scratch you're using, but it's the orange category. And we're going to make a new variable. So in this, we actually need two variables because we want to keep track of how many times the player chooses something that is an indoor activity and how many times the player chooses something that is an outdoor activity. So we're going to start by calling the first variable indoor points, and we can click it for all sprites. And then we're going to make another variable, and we're going to call it outdoor points. Now you can call these variables anything you want, as long as you have two different variables that are going to keep track of the choices that your player is making. So you can also hide these variables and just have them appear to you by unchecking these checkboxes, but for now let's keep them up on the screen. So let's go to the video game sprite. So the idea is that if the player clicks video game, we want to give them 1 point towards the indoor points because video games is more of an indoor activity. So we're going to go to our events, and we're going to say when this sprite is clicked, we are going to go back to our variable, and we're going to change the indoor points by 1. Now we can go to the same thing for sports, right? We'll click on our sports. That's the outdoor activity. So we're going to say, where's the events category? We're going to say when this sprite is clicked, the variable that we want to change by 1 is going to be outdoor points. Okay, so let's test the code. Okay, now if I click video games, you'll notice that indoor points goes up by 1. And if I rerun the code, and I choose sports, you'll see that outdoor points goes up by 1. Now the last part of this is to make sure that when the game begins again, all of those points are set back to 0. So we're going to grab 2 of the set points blocks because we have 2 variables, indoor and outdoor, and we're going to make sure that they both go back to 0 at the beginning. So when the green flag's clicked, it resets the variable. So after that, you can broadcast for those two choices to hide and for the next 2 choices to appear. And you can kind of repeat those steps again until the very end of the game. Let me show you one other part to this. So in order to figure out at the end of the game which variable your player had the most points for, we can do a code. Let's go down, give ourselves some space. We can do a code that at the end of the game, we might have to broadcast something for this. So let's just broadcast a message. Let's say the game is over, and we'll broadcast a new message called end of game. And we can say that when that message is broadcast, which will be at the very end of the game, we want to set up a code to let the player know whether they had more indoor points or outdoor points. So what we can do, we could set up a conditional statement. So I'm going to come in and I am going to do an if-then-else block. Now we're going to use an operator today that we've never used before. So it is a greater than operator. And inside of this operator, we can put the two variables. So I'm going to go back to my variables and I'm going to use indoor points and outdoor points. So basically the idea here is that when that message is received, if the indoor points is greater than the outdoor points, then maybe you'll have your bear say something like, "You are more of an indoor person. Stay on your couch." Or else, in the second half of the conditional, that means that they had more outdoor points. So we could say something like, "You are more of an outdoor person. Enjoy the sun." And that would be the end of the game. The player would know which of the personalities that you wanted to test they fit under.